In the stellar queendom of Rhea, the Sisters of the Host do all they can to protect the hearts and lives of its people. Rhea, spanning most of the known galaxy, is beset by forces within and without who would drag all into oblivion and despair. Aliens of uncertain intent traverse the queendom's borders, all while internal hatred and distrust would tear the people apart, as older, fouler things in the darkness wait to see their plans birth a terrible future. The hosts are the creations of the Dreaming Queen, mystically and genetically endowed super soldiers that give heart and body to protect the Queen and her people. Come and join us for their stories.
Greetings, subjects, and welcome back to Rose&Crescent, Blood and Sparkles, powered by Fabula Ultima. I am Isaac, your Royal Herald, aka your GM, and I am accompanied by my wonderful players. Introduce yourselves.
Hi, I'm JP. I play Petra. 3 otters in a trench coat.
Only 3. Figured you'd try to stuff in a few extra more.
Nah, just 3.
Hey, I'm Ira, and I play Alicia Snyder.
Hello, I'm Rin, and I play Chiako of the Silent Luminaries.
Our favorite resident psycho.
Who, me?
We have more.
They're fighting the Leviathan.
That is true. Chiako did miss out on a space Leviathan hunt. So apparently I didn't Royal Herald properly. I mean, I don't have a question prepared this time around.
I could ask a question.
Ask a question.
What is your preferred way to die?
That's a morbid thing to ask the GM.
I assumed the question was for the group, so all of you have to answer.
Well, I could always start. I would prefer to go out facing a giant monster, being eviscerated.
So what you're saying is that Chiako has issues.
What? No.
Although considering the homeworld of the Silent Luminaries does have a monster problem, it's not surprising that that might be how she wants to go out.
It's culturally appropriate.
How about Alyssa? How does Alyssa want to go out?
Alyssa wants to die old in bed in her sleep like a normal person.
Well, that's kind of not an option considering your profession.
Petra is going to end her days assuming that the universe doesn't conspire to kill her first as a pilgrim, and she will die wandering among the stars that she protected.
Oh, that's so nice.
It's poetic. I like it.
And on that morbidly happy note,
Previously on Rose&Crescent.
Petra, Chiako, and Alyssa weaved their way through the leads and lives on Ikash. Having found out that Hildy, who had disappeared but returned, had been modified, Chiako suspected this was a more advanced form of the change that had befallen the leader of the Void Dragons. Petra and Alyssa tore away at the criminals of the lower levels, and after thorough interrogations found out who had received the artifact piece and where they had gone. Following their target, our heroines discovered that this ne'er-do-well had left an explosive welcome to any who might follow after them. And when you managed to wrench open this door, you got hit with a wave of miasma, and 2 things happened. 1, you seemed to hit some kind of trigger, and it seems like a bomb's about to go off. And while you were realizing that, you got a call from Jax saying that Hildy changed, grabbed Yarick, and left. Not fun times. What do you do?
Has combat officially started?
With the bomb?
You're not in combat per se, but you are in a situation that requires a clock. Yay, clocks.
An action scene, if you will.
Indeed, a scene of action.
Well, Petra's a bit of a demolitions expert, so she is going to toss Clarabella over to Elisa. And as she's running to the bomb, she's going to be pulling out the tools of the trade that she would have for something like that.
Luckily, the bomb's only a step away from where you are. Looking at it, if this bomb goes off, it'll take out the entire bay that you're in. So you kind of need to deactivate it if you hope to get yourselves out of here. You're going to require 2 clocks. One is the countdown for the explosion. The other is to deactivate it.
How many segments for each one are you looking at?
It is 6 segments each. First round, and the clock towards the explosion ticks once.
Okay, Petra starts working. She looks at Lisa and Chiako. If this doesn't work, you guys should probably not be here. I would start running.
And leave you behind? No. Chiako is going to use her divination spell. Divination allows me to glimpse briefly into the future, and until the spell ends, which I believe is after a creature I see performs a check, if it was not a fumble nor a critical, I may force that person to re-roll both dice. Once you have forced 2 re-rolls this way, the spell ends. So if it is not good enough, but also not a fumble, re-roll.
All right, so you're casting the spell. You're going to give some guidance to Petra. Petra, are you going to make an attempt now? Or Alyssa, is there something you want to add to this?
I'm going to wait till Petra gives us an assessment of the explosive device.
And I'm going to do just that.
All right, if it's just going to be an assessment, it's going to be insight and insight.
And 8.
That's enough to get an assessment of the bomb. It is military grade, which means, amongst other things, this is a bomb you should know how to defuse. It's a tricky piece because it's a bomb. It's not meant to be easily deactivated, but you think you know what routes to take in the circuitry and what wires to manipulate.
Okay, will that give me a bonus on disarming it now?
I'll give you a +1. Is that enough an assessment, Alyssa, or is there something else you were hoping to find out?
How big will the blast radius be?
As I said previously, it'll be enough to take out the bay.
Just the bay?
Yes.
Petra looks up at Elisa. Look, if you're going to be too stupid to run, get down here and help me with this. I can use an extra set of hands.
Sure. I'll have to put down your precious baby.
Just make sure
She
you tuck
says.
her in, okay?
Elisa will put the gun off to the side.
Delicately.
Mm-hmm.
All right, if you're going to be an extra pair of hands, I'm going to say that's in dexterity and insight roll to give her a bonus.
All right. That's a 10.
All right, that'll give you an additional +1 bonus, Petra. So I'm going to need a dexterity and insight roll +2 from you.
That is a 14.
That is a success, and that is 1 slice of the clock. All right, round 2. Are you going to try to assist in the same way as before, or do you have other ways you might want to help the situation along before Petra makes her next roll?
So Alicia is suspecting that there's something a bit off here. Yes, the bomb was probably put here to be a trap, but the amount of time it takes to detonate and the general distance the bomb goes makes it feel that the real purpose of this bomb is less to hit the person who triggered it and more to perhaps destroy the area it's in, which makes her suspect there might be some evidence that whoever put this bomb here doesn't want found.
Interesting.
Lisa is going to do a quick, basically going around to see if she can find any evidence that the bomb was intended to potentially vaporize.
Alrighty, roll me an open insight and insight check.
Okay. That is a 12.
So you're right, this does have a little bit of a long detonation time, but also bear in mind that for you, it's a bit of a long detonation time. Your brain processes and reflexes are faster than standard humans. On the other hand, as mentioned before, this is a military-grade bomb. In fact, this is a military-issued bomb.
Military issued, you say?
Indeed.
She pulled the serial number.
They have been filed off. However, you can take a picture and attempt to reconstruct it later if you so desire.
All right.
Now, Chiako, what are you doing?
Do you need more hands with the explosive?
Yes, please.
Very well.
Dexterity and insight.
I will assist.
You got a 5. Going to use one of your divination
not
rerolls
so
or
that
or an ultima point? Or sorry, a fabula point?
I will use a fabula point. My divination rolls, I believe, only apply to the target in which I have granted them to. So that would be Petra. I suppose that's better from a 5 to a 9, but is that good enough?
In this instance, yes. So you succeeded in assisting Petra, which will add an additional slice to the clock as you're being that extra pair of hands, and considering your surgical background, you know how to move deftly and with precision.
That I do. I'll treat this bomb like a carcass.
A very volatile carcass. Now it falls to you, Petra. Going to stick with the same roll?
Yeah. Petra looks up, or doesn't look up, but says, carcass, huh? That's lovely, Chiako. Thanks.
You like that? I have more analogies.
I'm aware. A 19.
Oh, that is very impressive. Not a critical, but very impressive. All right. third round, third slice. Alyssa, what are you going to try to do to help this along?
Lisa is going to continue investigating the space. Now she's going to focus towards trying to find anything that can be used to potentially track a ship or explain how they got the bomb in here, or just any clues that can be located to turn into threads towards zero in on the suspect.
All right. Roll me inside and inside again.
That is an 11.
You're looking at the bomb placement. You're looking at the path ahead. You're looking at the bay that all this takes place in, as well as cross-referencing floor plans and other information that you got and looked over leading up to this situation. And as for getting the bomb in, shuttles belonging to those doing criminal activities can come here, unload, and reload. That's been established previously. So chances are this bomb and whatever other equipment that Caledon might have was probably brought in through this bay. Now, going over schematics in your head, assuming they didn't go deep down, considering that the mutant that attacked Tereus was able to get through and move quickly, chances are they're not that deep into the underway. So with that little bit of logical progression and general layout information that you have a good idea on where in the underway to look. Once you get past this bomb threat, of course.
Good to know.
All right, Chiako, doing the clock action again?
Yes, I'll help finish this up.
Insight and dexterity, please.
Critical and also doubles.
A critical success, which means if you want to, you can actually have that count as 2 slices of the clock.
Ooh, I do like that. Yes, please.
You're going to be greedy, take 2 slices, and you're almost there. Petra, just roll it, and you think you should be able to finish this off with time to spare.
A 12.
How coolly do you disarm this bomb?
She pulls the detonation device from the actual explosive and breathes a very quick sigh of relief, hoping nobody will hear it, and then stands up. You know, I don't want to be responsible for other sisters' deaths. Next time I tell you guys to run, you should run.
You're not the boss of me. She's gonna get up and skip along to wherever Elisa went to.
It's at that point you get a ping on your coordinates again. Ma'ams, it's Jax. What are we going to do about Hildy and Yarick? We're getting messages from the authorities that a monster has been sighted here or there heading upwards.
Upwards?
Through the levels.
And we're downwards, correct?
Chiaka, if you don't intervene in this quickly, they're probably going to gun her down and kill her.
Oh, you're right. Well, I guess I'm running.
Petra looks back and forth between the hole in the ground and the bay door leading out to Hildy. It's like, this isn't much of a choice. Come on. And she starts going out towards to chase down Hildy.
Before leaving, Elysia is going to call the ship and tell them to send a team down here to collect the bomb. We're not just leaving a bomb.
At which point, Captain A.O. Fred comes onto the line, sending down a bomb squad.
You should probably have a few people also stand guard around that pit, yeah?
Right, we'll also send some aerials down to keep watch over the entrance, says A.O. Fred.
Good, wonderful.
And so the 3 of you proceed upwards to try to apprehend Hildy. You are rushing up the levels, going through the routes that you know, so you can get through that quickly enough. With Jax feeding information about where Hildy has been spotted, you get the impression that she's heading towards the upper levels where the foremans typically work.
Hey, it's those guys. They're great. Nothing suspicious about that lot at all.
Nothing whatsoever.
Now, I'm going to want a might and dexterity check to rate how quickly you get there. However, I will give you a +2 bonus if you take that shortcut that Hildy told you about way back when.
Yes. You said what, might and dexterity?
Yes, and this is actually going to be a group check, since you're doing it as a group. So,
I assume Chiako is probably on point for this.
Yes. Chiako leads the way in this instance. All right, you got an 11.
I got an 11.
And I got a 13.
That'll be an additional 2 +2 from them on your roll, Chiako. So that's going to be might dexterity +4.
Very well. I don't like that.
That's an 11.
An 11, yes. I take it you're going to re-roll?
I think I should. An 11's probably not acceptable for this, right?
Higher the better. You don't know what kind of havoc or damage she's wreaking.
I will use another Fabula point.
And what are you tapping for that?
I am going to tap Scalpel of the Queen. I want to be very precise with where we go. There is no room for error.
Knife's edge precision it is. Roll again.
It is even less. That is an 8.
You can stick with the 11. I take it you're going to stick with the 11?
How about I stick with the 11, but may I also add my lucky 7?
You may.
I'm going to replace that 3 with the 7. So that's going to be 11 plus 4, which would be 15.
You're in a hurry. You're a bit emotionally distressed about everything going on. Between the miasma and the rapport you've built with Hildy and the fact that Yarrick's in the mix of all this, you might let yourself get a little sidetracked, but you managed to pull yourself in, focus, and you managed to follow the trail through the shortcut to the upper levels. And it's when you arrive at one of these upper levels, it's cleaner. There's actual natural daylight coming in, unlike in the lower levels. And you follow a comparatively minor, but still very present path of destruction towards what you believe are the foreman's offices. And as you follow this path, you see that the wardens have formed a perimeter of sorts, and they are currently determining what to do while Hildy is in there. You don't hear any screams, but you do hear sounds that are familiar, the metallic growling sounds that you heard from the previous mutant. And as you get closer and see the wardens, you actually see that the other 4 foremen are there. Apparently, the only one missing is the one by the name of Vodin.
Ah, the baby daddy.
As the 3 of you arrive, the foremans look at you. You're here to save our member and deal with that thing, I assume?
That thing is one of your citizens.
Formally, says another one of the foremans.
I'd like to interject here. I didn't want to step on anybody, but Petra is going to turn on her suit's recorder function to get a copy of this conversation.
So you're aware that your citizens are being turned into creatures?
We were not aware of any such thing, but you said that thing used to be one of our citizens.
And you
Clearly
said
not
so
anymore?
certainly that it was formerly.
I mean, have you seen her?
Yes, I have.
Blue skin, metal teeth. I think that qualifies as a former citizen at this point.
I think you all need to step away while I take care of things.
That's why you came here, and they step aside, and the wardens step aside.
Blue with metal teeth aren't the only monsters I kill.
They are all very quiet all of a sudden, and they back gracefully but quickly away.
Right into Petra. She starts to say that, and Petra is just going to stand behind them, and when they bump into her, just glower at them.
They are suitably cowed as they get out of your way.
Hey, Elisa,
Yes.
do you think that if we find Vodan, you can trick him into a confession?
Don't trick them into confessions. I just ask them, and they deliver.
Yeah, how dare you, Petra?
I don't mean You're kidding. Never mind.
We'll never
I was
know.
kidding. All right. Hildy, Jack is going to approach slowly and calmly.
You go through a short hallway past a reception area, claw marks on the walls, upturned furniture. You think you smell a slight trace of urine.
Have I seen or heard Yarrick yet?
As you go around, you do hear some crying, and it does sound like Yarrick.
Yarrick? Hildy?
Hello? You hear Yarrick from one of the offices at the back of the hall, as well as a low-grade metallic sound.
She's going to quickly approach until she gets like about a yard or so away from where she heard him, and then approach slow.
Roll me a dexterity for stealth.
That is a 9.
And Hildy got a 7, so she does not, in fact, hear you. As you inch closer, I assume you're trying to spy a little bit to see what's going on in there?
Yeah.
You inch closer, you peer your head out just a little bit, assuming you're helmeted, and it seems the reason she doesn't hear you is that Yarick is on the ground, injured but not lethally so. Yarick is crying, and Hildy seems to be pacing back and forth. And at one point, she attempts to try to touch Yarick, but he cries more and she recoils.
Chiako is going to step into the doorway. Her hands are going to be up in a passive, placating manner.
One thing
Yarick, Hildy.
Yarick sees you. His cries lessen. He's still doing the heavy breathing, but he's focusing on you now. You look at Hildy, and you notice that her features aren't as stretched as the previous mutant you saw. So she's more, while she is changed with the blue skin, the oily hair, the metallic claws, she is still more recognizable as Hildy. And looking at her, you also notice that she seems to be a bit more sluggish than the previous mutant. You think this might be the effects of the sedative that was used to send her into a medical coma. She does not immediately attack you, but she is watching you warily.
Hildy, it's me. And she's going to tap on the holographic gem and turn into her human self briefly. The one that she knew before returning to her silent luminary self.
She looks at that, kind of does that whole looks at you with one eye, then the other eye sort of thing that you sometimes see animals do. And she's not calming, but her stance has relaxed somewhat. At that point, you hear Voden say, "What's going on?"
The mother of your child has turned into a creature, and I assume you know quite a bit about it, sir.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Really? Because when I invited her to the ship I'm on, one of your little gopher guys said that he wanted to take Hildy in on your orders, and that if we believed she was dangerous, he showed that he knew very well what was going to happen potentially. He said he had wardens on standby, again, at your orders.
That was for show. You brought her on your ship. I was worried that she might say something about our relationship.
Ah, so your relationship was the dangerous thing that needed the wardens.
Again, for show, if I just brought her in like that, it would have been suspicious. But her coming in under the wardens could have been more easily smoothed over and talked off.
Bringing in the wardens made it a lot more suspicious. Now, are you injured, sir?
She gave me a thwack in the chest, but I'm not bleeding.
Well, you probably deserved it. Yarick, are you okay, dear?
What's going on?
When your mother
Wait.
went missing, something was done to her. She is not fully herself right now, but she is in enough control that she recognizes you and does not want to hurt you.
Oh, okay. Can I go home? Can you make Mom normal? And he's starting to hyperventilate again. Hildy's head snaps to Yarick, then snaps back at you, and she starts rising again.
Yarick, I need you to calm down. I'll do the best I can for her. But
right.
she's reacting to you.
All right, roll me a willpower and willpower to try to calm the child down.
I don't like willpower. I'm not good at it. I got an 8.
8 is enough to calm Yarick down. His breathing returns to a more normal rate, and Hildy is not raising her hackles at you anymore. She's still interposing herself between you and Voden and Yarick. You're at a bit of a standstill here. At the moment, she looks like she could go in many different directions. How are you wanting to handle this?
First, she's going to alert Elisa and Petra as to the current situation, assuming they're not just around the corner. And she is going to try to communicate more with Hildy, to let her know that she's just trying to help, and in particular, that she wants to help Yarick.
All right. And Petra and Alyssa. what are you doing while all this is happening?
Alyssa is around the corner, avoiding escalating the situation.
Lisa, that tool is in there. You think we can do the confession thing while the situation is enough to force it out of him?
You can avoid provoking the person of interest. Extract him.
Okay. We'll get him out, no matter what he wants.
All right, so we're going to have Chiako do her thing to try to calm Hildy down. Then we'll have Petra do her extraction attempt. So you're just going to talk her down, try to verbally soothe her, that sort of thing? Or is there something? Are you going to...
I would like to have her, inch closer to Yark as she's doing it. And hopefully Yark will come closer to her of his own volition, if he can. But, it's mostly focusing on Hildy and being soothing.
Are you going to retract your helmet for this?
Yes, I will.
So the seams of your helmet separate and it retracts back into your main armor. She sees your face. Your human face was basically the same as your regular face, just with more typical eye coloring.
Yeah, more typical eye coloring and a bit darker skin.
So she sees your face. Now, give me that roll. I'll say willpower and insight with a +1.
That is an 8.
An 8 is not enough.
It is not. Can I replace that 1 with my 3 from Lucky 7? Make that an 11?
That would also not be enough
10.
in this instance.
Versus.
You do have a stockpile of Fabula points, however.
I do. Very well. I shall use my 3rd Fabula point of the night. My goodness, I've never done such a horrible thing before.
Oh, poor dragon having to spend their hoard.
Hush now.
And what are you tapping for this reroll? And what are you tapping for this reroll?
I'm tapping my theme of mercy. 14.
Now 14 is indeed a lot better. As you're talking to her, you're soothing her, you're also calming Yark down, which is in turn affecting her. When you look at her eyes, the previous mutant, the eyes were entirely red, just red orbs. In her case, it's just the sclera that's red. The irises and pupil are the previous colors, maybe just slightly shaded red. You're not entirely sure what's going on with this change. Maybe the mutants have some variations between them. Maybe it's a side effect of the refinement process. Hard to say. But you do see her getting calmer, and she manages to get over to Yarrick, and Yarrick stays still long enough for her to grab him in the way that you've seen her grab him before. And her attention seems to be split between you, Yarrick, and an inward focus. Petra, attempt the extraction.
So I'm going to go in. I'm going to have Clarabella in my hands, but she's going to be pointed firmly at the floor. I'm going to look over at Vodan, and I'm going to say, "Were you hurt?"
Nothing's bleeding, but I am sore.
She touched you?
Yeah.
I point Clarabella at him. I think this might end up being a mercy.
He gets a panicked look on his face.
You've been infected by her.
No, she just pushed me down to the ground really hard.
But she touched you. If you come with us, it's going to be surgery. It's going to be autopsy. This might be a mercy. I'll leave it up to you.
I'll take a surgery over getting shot any day, thank you.
And what I'm actually trying to do here, oh dear Harold, is I'm trying to get him to give up something that he might know about the process.
The guy is panicking. He's trying to keep it quiet as not to garner Hildy's attention, but he's just like, I don't know what you're talking about. She just pushed me to the ground really hard. I don't know anything about any infection. I don't even know how this happened to her. If you want to roll me insight and insight to do a vibe check on him, I'll allow for that.
A 12 with a critical.
Indeed it is. So listening to him, yeah, he does not seem to be lying. You know, he's scared, trying not to panic, doing a decent enough job at that. And when he says he doesn't know, he doesn't seem to know. So Petra, how are you wanting to spend this opportunity?
Well, if you don't know what's going on, who does?
I don't know. I don't know. Okay. The reason I sent my gopher and the couple wardens down there was to move Hildy somewhere I knew would be safe and to minimize the chance that our relationship might become publicly known.
I guess we'll have to see about that. Come on. Quickly. I don't want to have to do any more surgery on you than necessary.
All right, so in that case, I'll say if you want your opportunity to be a +4 bonus on the stealth check to get him out of there without Hildy noticing, I'll allow it. Let's go with Dex and Dex.
A critical failure.
So you got a 6 and a critical failure at that. So I get an opportunity and you get a fabula point. Yay, everybody wins.
Everybody benefits.
So as you're attempting to get Vodin across without Hildy noticing, unfortunately his coveralls get caught on a piece of furniture, and it does that dragging across the floor sound, at which point Hildy, her torso not moving, but her head snaps in your direction, Petra, and she sees you.
I wish my neck could snap like that.
And at that point she roars, grabs Yark with one hand, and goes to grab Vodin with the other hand. She is going to try to grab them both and book it. She is going to roll a might and dexterity, and I'm going to spend that opportunity to give her a +4 bonus on this roll. All right, she got a 14. You won't be able to keep her from escaping. However, if you can equal or beat a 14, you'll be able to save one of the people she's taking. Who wants to make the attempt? Are you going to try to attack, maybe shooting at one of her arms? Are you going to grab one of them and just hold on for dear life? How are you going to do this?
I would like to grab Yark and just slip his arm out of her grip.
All right, I'll say that is a might and dexterity roll.
Another 8 tonight. Not my favorite number.
You're just so full of 8s.
I really am. I don't like that.
Are you going to do anything about it, or are you going to let it stand?
I don't think I have anything else I'm allowed to invoke.
In that case, holding both of them, Hildy speeds out of the office, out of the hallways, and out of the building. You hear some screams, you hear some gunfire sounds, and then everything goes quiet.
Chiaka's gonna run after them.
Same.
You get out, and unfortunately, they're gone. It's at that point, Danu and a group of aerials behind her come marching up. Sisters, we have a situation.
We're aware there's a situation, but which one specifically?
Well, we've been hearing chatter on the warden and command frequencies here that other people in the habitat and nearby habitats are turning.
Oh no.
As I recall, you had a lead on finding the source of this. If you three wish to proceed with that, I will take the aerials as well as any wardens I will conscript for this matter, and we will attempt to contain the situation, or at the very least slow it down long enough for you three to deal with what's causing this.
If you find Hildy, she's dragging Vorden and Yarrick with her. She hasn't fully changed. She's not exactly hostile. I think she's just trying to protect them.
Good to know.
The ones that are more bestial might want to go for knocking them out, or I suppose worse.
I would advise breaking out the less lethal weapons. We're still trying to figure out what exactly is happening.
Yeah, but the ones that are more humanoid, proceed with caution. Maybe they'll cooperate.
We will attempt to contain and subdue them as best we can. She gives you a salute, signals to the aerials behind her, and they proceed into the habitats. After receiving that unfortunate news, what are you going to do about the situation?
Head back to the ship. The situation with the colony is deteriorating. They need every hand on deck.
I see. So
Getting supplies wouldn't be a bad idea either.
So as we're on our way back to the ship, Petra looks at the other two and says, whatever's down there is causing a lot of trouble. I say we just blow it all to hell and run.
And lose our only lead into the cause of this entire fiasco?
No cause, no fiasco.
Well, I would like to firebomb a pit of evil. I do believe I agree with Alyssa on this one. We need to find the source, and it probably wouldn't do to damage the internal infrastructure of this little town. Some of the levels might collapse if we do.
Yeah, probably right. Just dislike the idea of trying to have the three of us clear out an entire subterranean network. Feels like that's going to take way more time than we have.
Investigations up to this point has given us enough information that I am relatively certain I know where the center of this problem is. If we strike fast and hard, we should be able to solve this with a minimal amount of casualties, but we have to be swift, and that means we need to be sure what we're doing.
Petra just blinks a couple times. Well, damn, that's unexpected.
There's power in paying attention to what's happening.
No, I just meant we agree on something.
A momentous occasion. Shall I buy us a cake?
With little almond slices on the top and some frosting. Yeah, let's do that.
Wonderful.
So at that point, you get a ping on your coronets. Ma'ams, this is Maya Legda, the chief techsmith for the ship.
Reading you loud and clear.
The captain has informed me that we may be taking on a sensitive object. Do you want me to build a containment for it?
Yes, please. It won't do for the crew to melt with the framework of the ship.
I like the ship, but not that much, she says.
If this is what we think it is, Chiako, should this be in your control? Whatever this containment thing is?
I don't know. I can sense it better than you two, but I don't know if that means I'm more susceptible to it. I have yet to determine the significance of that mural, and I have not heard back from my host.
More sensitive? Jeez.
I am the one who feels the evil.
Yeah, I don't feel a thing. Except a little bit of annoyance at having to,
Contemplate the evil?
Something like that.
Regardless, we'll find out how well I fare when we confront it, and we can decide then.
Maya chimes in again. I seem to recall that you had some scans and some readouts of a containment unit that was used on Brackwin. I can attempt to build something based off that data.
That sounds good. Very well done.
Thank you.
Better than nothing. Prioritize having it done.
I'll get straight to work on that.
Maya, could I see you real quickly for something? It's my suit.
Yes, ma'am.
Come on, take me down to engineering real quick. I got a thing I need you to look at.
Yes, ma'am. So you head down to engineering. Engineering is well kept, as you might expect on a military vessel, but you do notice some hints of personalization. You know, some spots here or there where things were made more efficient.
You have the ability to kill our suits? Yeah, to turn them off in an emergency?
That's not something I have, but I think the captain might have that ability, however.
I'd like you to have the captain prep that for all three of us.
Yes, ma'am. But since you're here, let me check your suit. She pulls out her tech-smithing tools and commences to do a quick diagnostic and go over. She's done relatively quickly. She goes, not much for me to do. You tend to maintain it rather well.
Thank you. Much else that I really am required to do other than that. I will speak with you later, Chief.
Ma'am, she says.
And then I'll head back up to the other two.
And what are you two going to do to prep?
Elisa is going to head down to the quarter, the storage, and is going to grab supplies.
Blouse is there. She gives you a quiet nod as you go about your business. You find everything quickly, as Glaus, as you have discovered, is exceptionally meticulous in her work. But she doesn't bother you unless you need something.
Alicia will grab what she will, nod to the quartermaster, and head out.
And how about you, Chiako?
Chiako is first going to take all the data she has collected so far from the current mission and copy it over into her computer in her room. That way, in case something happens to compromise her, she would then be able to either retrieve that information later, or if she's not around, someone else can.
You set up your contingencies, and as you're heading out, you see Jax, and he goes, just make sure to bring the kid home safe.
I will do my best, but I can never promise anything.
Are you going from like your normal face into your battle face as you make that statement?
Yes.
Jax is normally pretty relaxed. He respects military discipline, but he's generally relaxed around you, more so than the average normal human is around a host sister. So for the first time, you actually see him become nervous around you when that transition happens.
I'm gonna have her then go find Petra and also get her suit checked. Make sure everything is up to par. And she more or less has what she needs otherwise.
Maya is there on hand, gives your suit a quick once-over. Everything seems to be okay.
Good.
And on that, as you are disembarking from the ship, you receive a communique from Captain Eofred. All right, ma'ams, good luck. Most of our forces are currently aiding Danu in containing the situation, but if you have need, we'll muster what we can. Queen and the mothers be with you.
Queen and the mothers be with you.
And you head to the bay. The aerials there see you, salute, and stand to the side. Do you enter?
Petra just walks forth without any hesitation or prelude and just starts walking towards the hole in the ground.
And I assume you two follow?
Let's go.
Chiako will take position at the rear.
So from here, it's going to be a series of navigation checks. You're going to get there, you will get to your destination, but the navigation checks are to see how quickly you can get through. Because the longer you take, the more people above might change. And each go through of the clock will be more people above changing. So this will be a repeating clock until you get to your destination. Who would like to make the navigation check?
This looks like a job for Elisa.
It does. You've been doing the most research on this, so that's going to be a dexterity and insight check. Unless you have an argument for another roll combination.
What exactly am I doing here?
You're navigating an efficient path through the underway to where you think that the source of all this is.
Can Chiako help with her evil sense?
If you want to do me a willpower and insight roll, you can use that to give Alyssa a bonus on her roll.
That'll be a 12.
That is a success, and so that will be an additional +1 to Alyssa's roll. A 12. That is a success. You managed to navigate through the first portion of the underway. The underway, it's almost like industrial coral, just layers and layers built upon each other, forming a structure that creatures should live in. But unlike coral, there isn't a lot of life here. The life tends to stick to the upper levels, crawling up and up, leaving the bones of what came before in darkness and soot. There's a lot of industrial fumes and vapors and other kinds of runoff, mixing with the miasma of the magic that if you weren't in your sealed suits would probably be giving you a hard time. And the deeper you go, you realize most humans wouldn't make it through here, at least not without some significant aid on their part. And the malignant magic effect is such that all of you are feeling it, not just Chiako.
Hey, Chiako,
Yes, what is it?
is this what you've been sensing the whole time?
Yes, but not nearly as bad.
No wonder you're crazy. And she smiles and winks.
I'm not the crazy one, friend.
Petra is scanning the hallway. She has her shoulder at arm. And she says, no?
No, not at all. Everyone else is crazy.
Oh, that's comforting to know. Thanks for sharing. We need to have more of these little talks.
So you did successfully navigate through the first portion, and as you exit one set of tunnels, you enter into a large, you think it might have been a storage space at some point, but at the moment it is a dumping ground. A dumping ground of, well, bodies. Because, as was mentioned, although this might have gotten lost in some of the details, not everyone who disappeared came back. And as you're looking at the number of bodies, you realize, yeah, it wasn't just in the one habitat where things were focused that things were happening. It seems the operations had started to expand into other nearby habitats as well. The bodies, while not desecrated or dismembered, do show signs of being experimented upon. They're at different stages of modification. If you like, you can gather some data, but doing so might use up some of the time that you have.
Alicia's call is going to be, we're in a crisis point. We do not have time to dilly-dally with lab work.
I would agree. We'll come back for it later.
I'm just here to point my gun and shoot things. If you say that there's enough space that we can't do that, I'll trust you.
So you continue on, leaving this unfortunate sight behind you. Another navigation check, please.
All right. Still no modifiers?
I'll give you a +1 in this instance. Between your previous roll and, admittedly, maybe some of your good rolls from earlier in gathering and constructing the information, I should have given you a +1, but I'll give you that +1 now.
Does Chiako's help still
Not a
apply?
permanent one?
If you want to roll again to give her the aid again, I'll allow it.
Very well. Not so good. Only a 6.
That is not a success, unfortunately. Give it a roll.
Get the +1, and that's it. Yeah, I'm definitely re-rolling that.
And what are you tapping for that reroll?
Agent of the Queendom Bureaucracy.
All right, you won't let misunderstood floor plans get in the way.
I've seen these things are very mass-produced, fabricated blueprint plans. I know how these work.
That is a fair point. All right, give it a go.
There we go. That's 11.
All right, that is a success in this case. You head through a patch. You almost walk into a place where the industrial venting is thick, and you think there might have been particulates in the air that would have messed with your sensors, but you caught it in time, and you managed to navigate around it, saving you time having to figure out a way to go through it. Huzzah!
As Elisa and Chiako are doing the navigation keep us from getting lost thing, Petra is primarily providing security for the team. If there's any threat that comes up or anything that might jump out at us, I just wanted you to be aware that I've got my gun up and I am ready to engage immediately.
You're on Overwatch, basically.
Yes.
I played XCOM. Okay, well, I didn't play XCOM, but I watched you play XCOM.
Yeah, true.
So you managed to navigate around the industrial vapors. Another navigation check, please. Rin, if you want to roll again to add to the navigation roll. The previous time you did it, your mind kind of got lost in the feelings that the miasma is giving you. It's not a pleasant sensation.
No, it is not. That's better. I assist with an 11 as the miasma, so to speak, writhes around me. I start getting used to the more intense feeling, and her eyes are able to focus a bit more on the task at hand.
So, Ira, that is not a success.
I'm going to spend another fabula point.
The 8 was not a success. Let's see what it turns into.
Much better.
All right, a 13. That is a success.
Nice.
You come across an old ore processing plant, and luckily, your knowledge of this sort of prefabricated environments helps you from getting lost in the actual equipment in the space, and you bypass it without any issue.
Hey, Lisa,
Yes?
is it just my imagination or is it bigger down here than it is up there?
It's a more layered city, and the sewage and flooding systems for such a community are going to be rather large.
Interesting.
That being said, it is a vital enough architecture that the lack of any awareness of what's happening down here is a rather large indictment.
Yeah, my usual blow it all to hell plan would require far more explosives than we carry on the ship.
And I have no intention of ordering an orbital bombardment of a Queendom colony. Let's keep going.
You're making good time. You think that unless something catastrophic happens, you'll manage to get through this without too many of the above individuals turning. Here's to hoping. And that's going to be one last navigation check.
Another 11 from Chiako.
That is
And she is able to continue focusing on that dark aura.
That is a success. Yes, you're feeling it. You know you're getting close to the center of these things. You remember the echo that you felt on Brackwin? Previously you heard the echo, now you're hearing the song, and it is a fairly unpleasant experience, to say the least. But so far you're managing to keep it together. A 9 is not enough, Ira.
I will spend another fabula point.
How many are you down to after this?
3.
Looks like Chiako's not the only hoarder.
Can't spend them if I don't roll.
So what's your new total?
My new total is 16.
Very impressive. You get through what you believe is like the last leg before you reach the epicenter of the area. The concentration of the miasmic forces is thick, and Petra and Alyssa, you hear a hum of energy. There's a lot of energy being directed through here. Going through the last bit of the underway, it seems to have been a habitation at some point, and much like the rest of the path that you've tread so far, it just seems to have been left to rot. You go through this lost habitat through a fairly narrow tunnel, and it opens up into, it might have been a warehouse at some point, it might have been some kind of processing area, you're not sure, but that's what it used to be. What it is now, however, a messy and ill-kept laboratory used for nefarious purpose. The blood and other fluids scattered around here seems to indicate that people were experimented upon here, and that is an unpleasant thought. At the moment, there doesn't seem to be anybody on the table or on the chopping block. Towards the back, you hear a male voice demanding that the child and the man be handed over, with a metallic roar being the only response given to his demand. Do you get closer?
Yes.
Waiting to see what Elisa and Chiako do as soon as they start moving. That's my direction to move out, and I'll do that.
Are you going to just...
Chiako's picking up the pace a bit.
Do you intend to go straight forward, or are you just going to try sneak up?
Sneak? I did not know this word.
Chiako's going to look to Alyssa for direction.
I will approach directly. You secure a path of approach that is more subtle.
She simply gives a nod and then just slips off.
So Petra and Alyssa are boldly striding forward?
I assume Petra will be a little bit behind given the advantage of a weapon that has range.
Being tactile about it. I like it.
That, and Petra knows that she's got enough common sense to know that her ready, fire, aim approach here is probably going to work against her. So she is, however reluctantly, going to follow Lisa's lead on this.
I'll have Chiako roll for stealth a little bit later. Let's have Alyssa step forward. You step forward, you get closer, and you see a human man, as you would expect. Short cropped brown hair, although it doesn't look like it's been washed in some time, and it's not just sweat and oil mixed in there. What really stands out about him, though, is that going out of the base of his skull are a number of cords. The cords lead into a computer in the wall. The center point of it seems to be a camera that is looking around separate from the man whose mind seems to be plugged into it. It focuses on you, Alyssa, and then the man turns from Hildy to you.
You're going to explain what I'm looking at here?
The man looks at you, and as he speaks, you hear his raspy voice with a synthesized voice layered over it. Oh, sisters, we have heard you have been interfering. This eventuality was not unexpected.
You going to introduce yourself, or are you just going to brag about your foresight?
The human was Celadon Maris.
Open insight for that name to mean anything?
Go ahead. That is impressive.
That is a 20.
A 20 is impressive, yes. You've heard the name Celadon Mars before. In a couple of reports dealing with deployments in this part of space, in the Kypernian Reach, his name has shown up on a couple of duty rosters. Nothing too particularly stupendous, although you do recall at one point his name kind of fell off the lists. There was no cause of death listed, there was no reassignments listed, just he stopped being assigned.
So he was a official within the Queendom military?
He was the equivalent of an NCO.
All right.
His particular duty assignments kept him mostly towards administrative work. Nothing especially stupendous.
Where was his last assignment, do I vaguely recall, before he stopped being assigned?
You seem to recall that his last posting was on the planet Nagara.
How far away is that from here?
As far as space travel goes, not too far. It's the planet that oversees Ikash.
So under the regional government, if you will.
Indeed.
Well, I guess we know where he ended up. Did the big computer give itself a name?
I am one part of Baral, it says.
One part?
Also, everyone gets a fabula point for the presence of the villain.
Impressive name for a computer. Is Should I recognize it?
Whether or not you recognize me is inconsequential, as you will be dying soon.
Oh.
And as you're having this conversation, you see Hildy off to the side. She has interposed herself between the Keladon Baral duo and between an unconscious Vodin and Yarrick.
Chiako would like to do two things before things start. First, I would like to use my skill of quick assessment. I'll only use 5 mind points on this, so if I could get a single trait of this creature revealed, that would be wonderful.
Doing a quick assessment, you get an impression that you think this thing might be somehow resistant to bolt and dark damage.
Bolt and dark?
Correct.
Remind me, what's bolt damage?
Bolt is electricity damage.
Oh, okay. I'm going to relay these things to Petra and Elisa, and then I want to cast Divination. Another 10 mind points, and I'm going to use it on our foe here.
Alyssa, is there anything more you want to do or say here, or is Alyssa going to proceed directly to the attacking?
Oh, let's just gonna see how much time she can waste.
Going to try to get him monologuing?
Yeah, basically. I mean, it's like if every question she can get answered is a investigation she doesn't have to do.
Petra is going to be looking around the room, narratively using her suit's sensors to identify weak points in the structure around her, as well as tagging them for future use. Mechanically, this just means she's going to get ready to aim at one of these spots if necessary.
You note some spots in the room to make use of the environment to your advantage in this coming fight. After a moment of assessment, where you almost hear a ticking sound coming from the computer in the wall, as it assesses both you and its current situation, you hear the double voice again saying, "It would be efficient if you were to lay down your weapons and submit, but as that is unlikely considering your type." And then that's when the human portion of this little combo moves in to attack you. Initiative.
Can my readiness allow me to do something before that?
I'll give that to you, yes.
I'm going to put a shot right at the spot where the wires connect the wall.
All right, give it a roll.
I got a 17.
That is an ouch. Not quite enough to disconnect the two, but good headway for it.
Okay. And yeah, it says I did damage 8 plus 12.
And now it is time for initiative. Both the man and the machine scream, slightly out of sync with each other, and the full combat commences. Who's taking lead?
I'm going to assume it's Chiako as it has been in previous encounters.
Chiako has a lucky number 13 for her initiative.
All right, so you're going with that 13 then.
Yep.
Unfortunately, that does not beat this creature's initiative. It may not be the most mobile in appearance, but apparently its processes are quite speedy. And now for its first action, because as a champion creature, it will have a number of actions in a turn equal to the number of players. And the man portion of this semi-gestalt creature is going to do a melee attack at Alyssa.
My defense is 11.
It got a 7. It did not hit. It swipes at you. You manage to dodge it. Who's going first?
Chiako will.
All right, and what are you up to?
Smooth as silk. Chiako is going to slip behind this thing and attack where Clarabella struck as well. I'm going to do a double strike with my daggers.
Very nice. All right, the first strike of a 6 misses. The second strike of the 14, however, does hit.
Can I use a Fabula point to reroll the first one?
You may. And what are you tapping for that one?
Scalpel of the Queen.
Very nice.
Oh, excellent. That attack, while a total of 10, is a 5 and a 5, which activates my Frenzy ability, making it an automatic critical success.
Very nice. So your total damage before spending your opportunity is going to be 15. And then what are you spending your opportunity on?
Can I go for a plot twist? The machine starts to malfunction, glitch out.
I'll let you spend your opportunity on that, yes. Finishing the job that Petra started, you expand on the damage done by Clarabella, and you just start slicing into this thing, cutting cords, cutting wires, and in lightning-fast precision, you disconnect the man Keladon from the computer, the piece of Baral in the wall, at which point you hear an ear-piercing scream ringing throughout the room and through your helmets. It is not doing well. However, it's now its turn, and the computer in the wall is building up energy, and it's going to shoot a blast at you, Chiako. Your magic defense is 11?
Yes, it is.
All right, it's now going to roll. It
dear.
got a critical success against you with a 14.
That it did.
So
What's its opportunity?
first, it's going to be 22 points of bolt damage against you. Not only that, you now have a status effect.
All right, which one?
You're going to take the slow effect as the electrical discharge causes mechanisms in your suit to start locking up.
I am now also in crisis. But I get an opportunity, correct?
No, it gets an opportunity.
Curses, I thought I could trick you.
It's going to take the advantage opportunity, so its next roll will have a +4 bonus. Seeing your actions and assessing the limitations now imposed upon you, it is now calculating possibilities that you could take from here on out and will act and plan accordingly. And now it is your turn.
Go for it.
If you're sure. Also, start of the conflict.
Yes, if all of you wish to declare your transhuman ability, you have a habit of forgetting, so even though it's no longer the beginning of the conflict, I'll let you do it now. Just please remember to do so in the future.
I will do so you get a freestanding.
And yay, another opportunity for me, which I can spend later if I want. Wahahaha.
And I will not do this specifically, so you don't get another opportunity.
I see how it is.
You just hate giving the GM meta currency in any game, don't you?
Yeah.
We know this and accept this about you, Rin.
I like my point hordes, and I don't like giving anything back.
All right, so we got the computer.
Yes, you have the computer in the wall, and Mars now disconnected from it.
Mm-hmm.
And Chiako between the two, stiffening up with sparking electricity all over her.
Yes, very charming. Is he doing anything, or is he just...
He is no longer directly connected to the computer, but he does still seem to be acting in accordance with the computer. Not to the same synced level, but he's controlled much like how the mutants are controlled, I guess you could say.
Roger. All right, well, she's just going to zoom in on that guy. And... All right, this matters. If I hit, I can opt to have it not do something else instead of damage. So she's going to activate the hard light generator on Illyrian and is going to charge forward and hit him with it.
He's staggering. His defense is 9.
I am rolling terribly.
Yes, you are. That's a 4.
I'm
That is a
re-rolling
miss.
that. I am invoking the trait Angry Perfectionist and spending 1 Fabula point to roll the entire pool again.
Sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, that's a bit better.
18 is a bit better, yes. And that's going to be 24 points of damage on the man.
Yep.
He is not looking good. Now, this would be where it would be their turn again. However, severing the cord, linking them, has disrupted them in such a way that they are not going to get their third action in the round, and they are now down to 2 actions in a round. And now it is Petra's turn.
Okay. Petra looks around. She sizes up the situation. We established earlier that she carries around some demolition charges.
Yes, although I'd say that'd be a use of your inventory points.
Absolutely. Okay. There is a hole in the computer right now, yeah?
Not the biggest one, but yes, there is one if you want to slip something in there.
Yeah. I'd like to spend this round priming a demolition charge and then stuffing it in the hole that we made.
The inventory point action will be 1 action, leaving you with just your move, so you can call it up now, then in the next round you can put it in there.
My intent is that the next round I'm going to put it in there and then quickly cover Chiako so she doesn't get hit by the blast.
This sounds like a good and heartwarming plan. All right, now it's back to its turn. The man is going to attack. He is going to attack Alyssa.
11.
With a swipe of his now malformed hands, he misses. Huzzah for you. And he missed with a 10.
Technically, he doesn't because he gets that +4.
Right, yes, very good.
But also, I'm going to make him re-roll it.
All right, so he got a 10. With the +4 from the advantage, that would be a 14.
Did he get the +4 or did the computer get the +4?
They're two parts of the same boss?
Well, it was the electric shock that was the critical hit that the computer did.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair.
So I think it's whatever part of him. I don't know.
No, I see your rationale there. In that case, he got a 10 and he missed. Okay, now it falls to your turn. I assume you're going to let Petra go first?
I mean, she didn't get to do much last turn, so...
Plus, she has a plan.
It's coming together. Okay, yeah, she is going to shove that demolition charge right down this thing's sparking throat, and then quickly sheltered Chiako from the blast of this thing.
In that case, give me a dexterity roll.
Any bonuses?
Not in this case, no. Unless you want to spend a fabula point to invoke your bond with Chiako.
That's what I was thinking, yeah.
However, you got a 9, which is enough in this case, so you don't really need to.
Okay.
Yes, I shall stretch out with my feelings to Chiako. Oh, wait, don't need to. We're good. Keep the feelings to myself.
She's just gritting her teeth and twitching.
So, this will create an opportunity. What opportunity do you wish to use?
Giant effing hole.
Yes, but what does that translate to mechanically, would you say?
I'd like to go with affliction and do the slow affliction, as its backup processors have.
I would suggest shaken.
Online. Shaken. Okay.
Shaken is the which one?
Willpower.
All right.
I see. Yeah, good idea.
Slow effects dex. I'm not sure how much dex this computer is using.
You disrupt its secondary processors as well as its primary processors, causing it to become shaken and its functions to slow down. And as such, its willpower is reduced.
Do I take any damage from being on the ground next to this thing? These are meant to bring down buildings and put holes in tanks.
That is true. In that case, I will say your high roll of 5 plus 10, so you take 15 points of damage.
Okie dokie.
That goes through any resistances you might have.
Yeah, I'd assume so.
All right, now it's the computer part's turn. Its functions have just been disrupted. Its meat portion has been disconnected from it and is not doing so well. It's going to throw, for want of a better term, a standard electric attack at Petra, considering Petra's the one that just disrupted its functions.
Sounds good. Give me. Magic defense of 8. Don't forget the shaken.
It got a 12, which means it does 12 points of bolt damage to you.
May I make it re-roll this one?
You do have that divination effect on it, so you may do so if you wish.
Might as well.
It got a 10 on the second roll, so it still hit, but the damage will now be lower. The damage against you, Petra, is going to be 10 bolt damage.
Alrighty.
And now it's your turns again.
I think Elisa
Go ahead.
will go ahead while Chiako gets out from under Petra. Yeah, Elisa's going to finish off this minion feller.
Have at it. A 7 is a miss, unfortunately.
I'll take it as I'll eat the miss.
Now it's your turn, Chiako.
Chiako is going to also attack the meat puppet after getting out from under Petra.
You shrug Petra off you and go for the attack. Roll it.
I am going to re-roll that second attack with a fabula point.
So the first attack of 14 hits, the second attack the 5 misses. Reroll.
That is a 12.
Both hit. He is not looking very good at all. The first attack is going to be an 8, and the second attack is going to be also an 8, so that is going to be 16 points altogether. And as you strike at him, he looks at you, and he looks like he's looking at you for the first time. Then both he and the computer say, "Silent luminaries, not again."
What was that?
And now it's its turn. You're kind of up in his face, So he is going to... Well, actually, he has multi-attack, and this is his first chance to actually get to use it. So he's going to attack both you and Alyssa.
Who's the first? Who's the second?
Chiako is the first, Alyssa is the second.
Okay.
15.
That is a hit. My defense is an 11.
And I assume that's also a hit for you, Alyssa?
Yes.
And that is going to be 13 points of damage.
Can I make him re-roll this one as well?
Haven't you already used the reroll once?
I get to use it twice, and the spell ends.
If you want to use it again, feel free.
Might as well. Don't know if I'll get the opportunity.
All right.
That is
So
fair.
he will roll again. And
Wow.
it becomes a 6, so he misses both of you.
Yes, he does.
Without the computer to help sort, analyze, collate, and etc., all the various possibilities, his mind is unable to process all the input and make good use of the information. And he misses.
Wonderful. Now tell me again. You know my host?
Silent luminaries are the bane. All right, and now it's your turns. Who's going next?
You guys mind if I go so I can heal real quick?
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
You're using the rest of your
Okay.
inventory points to heal you?
No. I am going to stand up, plant my feet, just shake my head real quick. Yeah! Wow! I love the smell of Visaline. Damn, that hurt. And then she's going to use Withstand. I'm not going to provide cover to another creature. I recover instead hit points equal to my skill level multiplied by the highest strength among my bonds, which is 2. So that is going to give me 8 hit points back.
All right. Also, take a Fabula point.
Okay,
And that was your action?
that was my action.
All right, now it's the computer's turn. And it's going to focus on Chiako. It just says, not again, and it will fire at you.
What's your health, Giaco? Just out of curiosity. Unrelated to anything.
I'm at 21. I am in crisis.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Unfortunately, it got a 3 and misses you. Between the processors being damaged and being emotional at the presence of you, its aim flew off.
Oh no, indeed.
Your turns.
I'll attack. Double strike. The gut and the throat.
All right, trying to take out the man. Go for it.
That is a 13 for my first strike.
That's a hit.
That is a 4 for the second strike. However, I would like to use my lucky 7 and replace the 1 in that roll, making it a 10.
That makes it a hit.
11 damage.
Total would be 11 damage, I believe.
So,
Unless using my lucky 7 boosts the damage somehow.
yes. So that's going to make that 19 points of damage altogether between the two attacks. And he is down. Alyssa, your turn. And the only part of this monstrosity that is still active is the computer.
Alyssa is going to scream, charge at it, and slam her hammer into it.
I told you I wasn't the crazy one, Petra.
Yeah, you did.
Both of you may have a Fabula point. A 14. And that is 22 points of damage. Ouch.
22 points.
It's not down yet, and it is still fighting. You're right in front of it. Mm-hmm. It's going to try to use its more powerful attack, despite the fact that its will is reduced. And it's going to do it on you, Alyssa.
Okay. Magic defense is 11.
It's not doing too well. It's shaky. Its attack aim is thrown off again, and it misses you with an 8. That was its one turn for the round. Now it's your turns.
I'd like to hit it again.
I'd like for you to hit it again.
Smash it to pieces.
A 7 is a miss.
Yep. Or Angry Perfectionist. Another Fabula point. Let's go. Much better.
You got a 13. That's
Another
a hit.
22.
And 22 points of damage. You hit the previous time. You swung back. You hear the machine screaming in the way that only machines can. And then you lay down your hammer on it a second time. And the energy flowing to it stops. Any internal mechanisms that were still moving slowly spin out and stop as well. As it stops, the miasma that was permeating the place starts to thin. You still feel a presence coming from within the computer, but it is depowered. As you are taking a breath from that, you look down Apparently, the man was not entirely out of it. He presses his button on a communicator on his wrist, and it seems to be setting out some kind of prearranged signal. And then as he finally stops and stills, you hear him mutter these words. "Tell the colonel they took it. Sorry for the late report. Star chamber." And then his eyes kind of glaze over, and he goes unconscious. He's not dead, or at least not if you can get him medical attention soon. Also, with the miasma and the signal from the computer down, Hildy stops, stands upright, looks at herself, looks at Vodin and Yarick, and starts to cry. Although as she's doing so, she's grabbing the both of them and holding them tight. What do you do from here?
Chiako is going to pick what's his name, because she doesn't care what his name is, and walk over to Hildy.
Do you retract your helmet?
Yes.
Hildy looks at you and goes, "Oh, it's you. I think it's all very hazy. What's going on? Why do I look like this?" At which point Vodin just kind of grabs her, says, It'll be okay. Just breathe."
How injured are Vodin and Yarick?
Yarick has a couple scrapes. Vodin still seems to be sore from the previous encounter earlier. He doesn't necessarily need immediate medical attention.
Your current form is a result of your disappearance. Whatever these things here were controlling it. If you have your mind back, perhaps the others above do as well. And we should get back to the surface.
Okay. Yarick comes to at this point, looks up at Hildy and goes, "Mommy?" And she goes, "It's me, sweetie, it's me." Alyssa and Petra, do you also follow along, just heading towards the surface?
You might want to keep your child's eyes covered.
Okay, and she just kind of like puts her hand on his face, and it's a bit bigger than it used to be, so it just kind of covers the whole face.
Petra reaches down to her belt and she takes all of the remaining demolition charges she has and starts arming them and sticking them on the inside of now what I am assuming now is a giant gaping hole that Elisa left. And she is going to rig them to explode on a signal that I will set off when we reach the surface.
I assume once the containment unit is fabricated, you're going to recover any pieces from the computer?
That's the idea. In fact, Elisa will actually just stay behind until the team comes down to retrieve stuff.
So,
Petra, would you carry the meat bag? Vodin, do you need my assistance?
"I can walk," he says.
Do we really want that meat bag, or should I just stick him in the hole with the bombs?
He's not dead, and he might be valuable.
And he was a
At least for
loyal...
Alyssa to interrogate.
Once he was a member of the Queendom military. The bare minimum, he deserves a proper interrogation.
Oh, lovely. He's a lucky guy.
Then we'll give him a proper burial.
Yeah, lucky guy. I bend over to pick him up and stick him over my shoulder, making sure that I break off anything that look like claws or teeth, and kind of whisper to him on the way out, "Man, I think you're gonna have preferred the bombs."
He does not respond. So Alyssa stays behind to keep watch on this thing, while Chiako leads the family out from the underway. When you arrive back at the surface, things have quieted down. It seems with the cessation of the computer, any changes that were going on have stopped, and the individuals seem to have reclaimed themselves. Danu is currently quarantining them, largely for their own protection. After all, they're now mutated, and after the previous attacks that were going on, the local populace may or may not be forgiving. Vodin sends a message to the other foreman, telling them that the crisis is over and now it's just a matter of cleanup. And then Danu, along with some help from some of the local doctors, begins to treat injuries as well as examine the mutants. In addition to that, Keladon, Meatman, he gets treated. He's not going to die. However, he is in a coma now. Whether or not he comes out of that will be seen. but you're probably going to want to keep him close if he does come out for the information that he offers. You have his wrist communication device, plus whatever else you can drag out of that little horror show they had going on down there. In the midst of all that, and not too long in order, Maya has the containment device as ready as it can be. I assume Petra will want to bring the containment device down and help Alyssa in storing the artifact. As you peel away the pieces of the computer, it seems that the artifact was placed into an existing computer, and then it was modified on top of that. Basically, it was a core piece that was integrated into a new system. And while the artifact has been deactivated, it's still, for the most part, whole. Whatever this thing is made out of, it is quite durable. However, with it currently being in an inactive state, you can put it into the containment without issue.
As we do this, Petra is going to look over at Elisa. So, pounding that thing with your hammer like that was, and she kind of picks up a couple pieces and kicks them out of the way. That was good. Yeah. You did good there. Yeah.
I like simple solutions to simple problems.
I may faint of shock. That's two things we agreed upon in one day.
Shouldn't be too shocked. There has to be some reason you were deemed worthy of the Queendom service.
That's funny. I was going to say the same thing about you. Oh, this thing is... Oh, God, is that slime? Ugh.
It is.
What's slime doing in a computer?
The very air you breathe is full of tiny little microbes that, given time, will develop all kinds of toxic molds.
He could have gone after me, but no, he had to go after the two crazy ones in the room.
And on that happy note, as you walk out of the chamber, Petra, you press the signal, and it explodes behind you.
Cool gals don't look at explosions.
Oh, Mom, and Dad, Mom getting along so well.
Up above, the treatments continue. Bowden has been talking with Hildy and Yarick, and as you're checking up on them, you hear the last part of their conversation, and he says, "After all this, I will tell my wife, and whatever the fallout, I'll begin the divorce proceedings." At which point he hugs them both, sees the two of you, nods, and leaves.
Petra, if it's okay, Petra goes up to Chiako as the small familial unit walks away. You doing okay there?
I'm perfectly fine. Why do you ask?
You've got less of the, bubbly killer going on and more of the serious, terrorist thing going on. Just wanted to make sure you're okay.
I'm sure I'll revert eventually when things calm down.
Good. That's good. And then Petra will kind of walk away saying, "He had to go after the crazy ones. Couldn't go after the one that was just kind of annoyed."
I told her I'm not the crazy one.
And on that happy note, that is where we will leave things for now. Thank you all for listening. Thank you all for joining us. We hope you had a good time, and we hope this has been emotionally riveting. If not, we'll try harder. Please do the liking and subscribing thing, the typical YouTube stuff to help the Queendom grow. And fare thee well, subjects. Say goodbye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye.
And fare thee well.